Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I finally got myself a copy of Sidereal Confluence. It's the remastered version, and it's a trading and negotiation game for 4 to 9 players, and it's published by WizKids. And I decided that this game needed a more in-depth of how to play and how to enjoy this game. So I read a lot on Board Game Geek, and I also talked with the designers as well to give you this information. So let's hope this helps you understand the game. Now, I'd like to first ask you if you can like and subscribe to this channel. It's something super easy for you to do, and it's very helpful for us. Every player will select a different species, which are all unique and will all require different strategies to do well in the game. Each species will have a card showing what they start with at the beginning of the game, so players will get to set up the game like that. There are 3 phases in the game and 6 rounds total. The first phase is the trade phase, while players will negotiate with each other, exchanging goods or other items for other goods or other items. Each good type has a relative value, and you will want to trade either for goods that are a higher value or trade so that your goods are something that you want and you can use in your converters to gain additional goods at a higher value. So a guide of the value for each type of good goes like this. 1 point is worth roughly 1 octagon token, 2 large cubes or 3 small cubes, or 1 large cube is equal to 1.5 small cubes, and the hexagon is equal to 3 small cubes. Again, this can change depending on the need of certain goods in the game and what type of goods that are available. And then 3 small cubes are always equal to 3 ships. Ships are resources, but they're used for bidding. In addition, converters list the relative value that it will convert, giving you additional goods that have the stated listed higher value. Players can also trade any of their cards. This would include converters from a specific species. Some of these are really good, so keep your eyes out. But if this is traded, it is only traded for 1 round. It is always given back to the original species. But the other cards are for keeps, like colonies, which can produce resources without putting in anything to run them, or research sims, which can take goods to convert to make the shown points. Plus, you get the sharing bonus, which is the number of points shown for that round, plus a new technology that it will invent. All trades are binding in this game, and points are not tradable. Your goal in this phase is to get resources to run as many converters as you can. Ships are generally valuable, which you will find out in the last phase of the game. You will run converters that have violet arrows in the trade phase. Many of these are from research cards, which will let you invent technologies, which will give you a new converter to use next phase before all other players get that technology as well, because eventually they will get it as well. In addition, you can upgrade cards. This usually will be from having a certain technology, sacrificing it, placing it underneath that converter, and then flipping that card over so that it converts goods better. Lots of converters can be upgraded from either of the 2 listed technologies, but your strategy should guide you on which one you should choose to do. If you didn't realize, the trading is done with all players all at the same time. It can get pretty crazy. When this phase is done, it's then the economy phase where no more negotiation is allowed. At the beginning of this phase, all players can only have the total number of colonies listed on their faction card. All excess will be discarded, but we know that you saw this coming, and so instead you traded it during the previous phase, right? Players will now run their converters by exchanging goods from the left, placing them into the supply, and then taking what it converts into and placing that into their player area. Converters are optional and all run at the same time. So you can't use goods produced from one to place it in the input of another. Now also, sometimes converters will output donation resources, which cannot be used by that player and will need to be used either for trade, or if that doesn't happen, you'll need to give them away for free at the end of the next trade phase. Some converters consume colonies with the correct climate icon. Those colonies are discarded front side up under the colony deck. The last phase is the confluence phase, and players share technologies that they invented with all others, announcing it and placing that card in the middle of the table for everyone to see. The player who invented it will gain the sharing bonus listed on that Confluence card for that round. And there are 6 of these cards, 1 for each round, and points decrease as the game goes on. Everyone will find that card with the same name within their own species deck, and they will put it into play. This can be used as a converter, or it can be sacrificed to upgrade a different converter that lists it on the bottom of its card. The only technologies not shared like this are the Era 4 technologies. Next, players will bid ships for both new colony cards and research team cards. These are both simultaneous bids and hidden, which will determine the order in which players buy one card from each track. The track shows a minimum bid to take that card, and everyone knows how many ships everyone has at the beginning of this. Everyone will then put one bid hidden in one hand and the other in the other, and the remaining ships are placed behind the player screen. Some negotiation can occur at this time, but only regarding the card that is being bid upon. Players can convince other players not to take a certain card in exchange for a promise. When ready, everyone opens their bid for the colonies. Starting with the highest bid, ships are returned to the supply, and players select their colony card that they want, obeying the stated minimum bid. If you decide to pass, you keep your ships, and everyone in bid order then does this, collecting their new colonies. After that, all research bids are revealed simultaneously as well, and similar, the highest bidder will take the research team and obey the stated minimum bid limit. At the end of this phase, cards with a minimum bid limit of 1 are discarded to the bottom of their decks, and cards slide down and new cards are dealt out. At the end of the round, players return cards that are of another species border, and the new Confluence sharing bonus card is flipped over with the back that shows the phases that are left in the game. Players will then start the next round with some more fun trading. When there are no Confluence cards left, that is the last turn. In the economy phase, you keep any donations you output, and the final Confluence phase is replaced with a scoring phase for the game. Sharing bonuses are earned for the last time, and goods are turned into points, which is a little bit different than the normal guide for the game. So you should strive to change goods into points using your converters, because now 2 large cubes is worth half a point, and 3 small cubes change into a half a point. A hexagon is half a point, and 3 ships are half a point. All players reveal their total points, and whoever has the most points wins the game. This now is the ultimate negotiating and trading game, with nothing else out there like it. The best thing that I like about this is you don't really know how much anybody is really benefiting from the trades, because everyone has a unique species that has different rules, and you don't really know what their strategy is unless you really know the game. Now, the hardest thing about the game is trying to learn each species, because there are many that you can play, and everyone is doing something different than you. So you can't get the ideas of watching others of what you should do, because it just won't benefit you like it might them. So for that reason, you will need to watch my videos on tips for each species that you can play in this game. The game is an incredible experience. I would want everyone to play this at least once. Many would agree this is a great game to play at a convention, but I also think it would be fun to play in your game group, because you know each other a little bit more better, and you can negotiate better knowing how to sweeten up the deal for certain people, and you will just have a great time. The game is all about trading. If you don't trade, you're not going to do well in this game. So players are highly encouraged to trade, and some more than others. But ultimately, the players who trade the best and make those connections with all other players are probably going to continue to be traded with. And throughout the game, they will do better because more people are trading with them. The game is special, and for its player count to be played with 4 to 9 players. Other games that are like this tend to either run super long or are very lightweight games. This game isn't any of those. The game provides a growing economic engine, unique player paradigms, and all of this with an actual separation between the resources and points. The time used to play the game is all simultaneously, so everyone is playing the game the entire game. I'm not sure how the game was designed to be, but it seems like it was built as a giant economic system and then portioned out in parts for different factions. You still can do a lot with your small part, but it's even better when matched up with other players' parts and other players. Players need others to do well, but never just one exact player. And the game makes all deals binding, so no April Fools in this game. The game is simple when you look at it. Yes, it feels super complex, but really it's a simple game with just a lot of different variation. Now, some of my advice, and I might mispronounce some of the species name. I'm still learning, so sorry. You might be wondering which species that you should play as. Well, the Kit and the Kalion are the four flexible players, and they ask you to do one thing, and then you can go do whatever else that you want. The Fataron, they're the opposite. They have one strategy. You need to get a relic out there each turn, and change your strategy to take advantage of it. The Imdrill and the Kaz are good for Euro players. Lots of little decisions to fine-tune your economy. The Unity are for people who want the opposite, no math, just trading. The Iniet and the Zeth and the Kinji are best for 7 or more players. Unity is the best for 4 or 5 players. All others have minimal changes depending on the player count. Also, you might not want to play as the Iniet if the Fataron are in play, or don't pick the Imdrill if there are less than 3 Ultratechs in play. Each race consumes 3 different cubes, and each cube is consumed by 4 different races. So don't be the 3rd or the 4th race to consume a specific color. If you're playing with new players, the experienced players should pick theirs last, their species last. Or if playing with the better players, you should pick your species first. Knowing all the species the first round can be predictable when knowing them all. If you are still confused about trading, let me clear that up right now. You should look at your converters and see what you are missing, and try to get those cubes for fair value. If someone asks for more, then ignore them, and for now, ask someone else. Take the cheapest option. Only accept an unfair deal when you're desperate for those cubes, or when that player has a monopoly of that color. Only ask for an unfair trade when you have a monopoly. Otherwise, another player will offer you a better deal and you will get no value. Also, you can ask a premium if the cubes that you're getting are the colors that you have no use for. So when trading 3 resources that you don't need for 3 others that you don't need, well, you're gaining nothing. Trades are easier when you trade a converter to a player who has the cubes to run it than it is to get the cubes from that player for you to run it. Remember, an empty converter is worth 0, so if you can get any profit from it, then you should do it. Remember, a cube going into a converter will get you more value. Ones that just sit there lose value. Sell off any spares, buy converters, lend cubes for a fee, make sure the cubes are doing something. Inflation in the game is said to be about 33%. Also, you should know that when making future promises, all future deals are slightly weaker than the immediate deal. So 3 cubes next turn is actually worth 2 on this turn. Also, all your converters represent next turn values. So don't be scared to sell cubes that you have in a converter for the right price. Also, another tip is to get a piece of paper to write down these deals. If you are remembering these trades, then you're probably not making enough of them. Make more future deals. Also, remember that rule where you can't trade points? Well, yes, you can. Just get creative. There are donation points. 6 ships in the last round will get you a point. A victory point converter with all inputs already on it can be helpful. A research team with all the inputs already on it. All right, so you have converters. Which one should you run? Well, they have those numbers on them. Take the last number and subtract the first one, and that is what your profit is. Make that number the largest that you can. If you can run all of them, then you should do that. If not, then sell it or use it to pay for an upgrade. When do you invent a technology? Well, not on the first round, but after that. Only invent with spare cubes. Your focus is your economy. The sharing bonus will drop each round, so invent only if you can run the converter that it produces. How should you bid on stuff? Well, bid 4 if you want a certain thing, 3 if you want a good choice at getting one of the things in particular, 2 if you want something but don't care what it is, and 1 if you don't want anything but you still want a chance of getting lucky. Remember, you can still make promises in the confluence phase, so ask for a small fee in exchange to take a card further to the right. Or ask a player if you can bribe them to change their mind and take a different card because you want that one. You should, with time, get familiar with the tiebreaker and bid extra ships if you are tie broken unfavorably. If you really want something, then bid highly for it. One ship is not worth the whole game of regret. And if you don't want anything, try to sell your bid right then and there. So now what technology should you grab? Check out the price. If it can be done with cubes that you have a lot of or colors that you don't need, then take it. Lower tier text is always more efficient than higher tier, giving you the same points for fewer cubes. When you get better, you will learn to ignore the price and look at the tech that it invents, as you can trade for the cubes that you need to invent it. But focus on technology that you can run or use as an upgrade. Now, some other overall help is to ignore converters that give you points till the last 2 rounds. Only upgrade a colony on the first turn. Every other turn is not worth it. You can pay promises using donation cubes. You can ask a player to launder you your donation cubes as part of a deal, taking all of your donations and promising to give them back to you immediately. If you want to learn more about a specific species, I explain each one in detail and give you a decent plan for when you play the game. So make sure you check out those videos. But ultimately, learn how to strike up a deal with your family and friends in Sidereal Confluence, the remastered version by WizKids. Again, this is Board Game Brody, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.